Time for our weekly conversation with Scott Sistek from the Emerald City Weather blog, emeraldcityweather.com.
All right, Scott, you are saying we have multiple atmospheric weather events headed our way, and Charlie has a very important question about that.
So let's start with just what the atmospheric rivers are, and then we're going to talk about like how much water we're talking about. But let's first of all talk about atmospheric rivers. What's on the way here?
Right, because you hear that story, you hear that term quite a bit, especially recently. It's kind of become a favorite term in the media here and amongst meteorologists. And it basically describes a weather pattern where you get a long fetch of moisture that is tapped into like the tropics. So in our case, it taps into like moisture around the Pacific, in the Pacific Ocean, right around the tropics there. That moisture is warm and there's quite a bit of it. And then it's like a conveyor belt. It shifts it from down in the tropics, pulls it up across the ocean, and then kind of aims it right at the Pacific Northwest. And so we call it an atmospheric river because it looks like a river on the map, but it is almost literally like a river of moisture that goes from the tropics straight up into our area. And so we're looking at multiple ones happening starting right around this weekend, and then maybe getting stronger with more of them as we get into next week.
And when we talk about this, Scott, how much water are we talking about that may be falling on the Seattle area when you say it's an atmospheric river?
Right. Well, in the skies, when the moisture that's being transported from the tropics up to here in an atmospheric river, it can contain as much water as 25 times the entire volume of the Mississippi River.
What?
So think of how much water is in the Mississippi, and the Mississippi goes from, I don't know, I forget where it starts, like Minnesota all the way down to the Gulf.
Yeah.
And all that water, and they're talking 25 times that amount. So that's the amount of water vapor and moisture that these can carry from start to finish. So that is a lot of moisture in the atmosphere. And it's why when we get the really big atmospheric rivers, we have a lot of concern, because think about, okay, that means there's going to be a lot of rainfall. And since it's tropical moisture, it's not cold rain either, it's warm rain. So that usually pushes up the snow levels. And then all that water is falling as rain in the mountains, and then it's running off into the rivers. So we don't get like the nice big safety of it falling as snow and sticking in the mountains. It just runs right off into the rivers. Some atmospheric rivers are on the lighter side and actually helpful and beneficial, and then some of them are getting to be too strong. The ones for this week, we kind of start on the beneficial side. They're not too bad. It'll be wet and kind of warm, but not like super rainy. And then as we get later into the weekend into next week, that's when we're looking at some stronger storms that when you combine with the earlier storms, you put them all together, and now we're putting some pressure on our rivers.
So do we have concerns of flooding yet?
Yeah, it's a little early yet. Nothing in the short term. I think we'll make it like through the weekend fine into early next week. Probably okay. It's probably middle to late next week where we'll start having to really keep an eye on our area rivers, because by then we will have had, 2-3 of these storms move through here. So the way I had written it was the storms individually aren't too intense, aren't too impactful, but just the additive nature of it, just that they're having a bunch in succession. Like the one storm comes in, the water runs down into the rivers. We don't really get enough of a break to let that water flow through until here comes the next storm to kind of add on top of it. And then especially like the third and the fourth storms really add more on top of it. And that's where we're kind of really keeping an eye on for next week. So kind of an early heads up.
So we are in the start of what's called meteorological winter. That's December 1 through February 1, right, Scott?
February 28th.
February 28th. Give us an idea. When do you start getting concerned about the snowpack and not enough mountain snow?
I mean, we've still got time. It's still early in the season, but I was really hoping that we would be better off than we are now. We've been talking about La Nina for a few months here, and usually La Nina winters tend to be a pretty good snow producer in the mountains. And this winter so far is like nothing up there. There's only like a few inches at best. And that's because we've been having so many of these mild storms. We've had plenty of moisture. If you look at the rainfall totals, we're pretty close to average right now, at least in the recent month or two. A little below, but pretty close. But all of that is not really falling as snow. It's been so warm. We've heard the term atmospheric river, and people are like, you use this all the time. Isn't that just when it rains? It's like, no, there are specific storms that have to meet the criteria for atmospheric river. We're not just banding this term about like willy-nilly like all the time. It's just that all of the storms in November in this season have been atmospheric rivers. We've just had a whole bunch of them. So that's why it's been wet, but it's been warm, and why the skiers are kind of like, where's our snow? And then looking ahead, the next 2 weeks, we had talked last week a lot about here comes cold weather, here comes a big cold snap. That really happened, as you noticed. Look out the window, it's not too different. And so most of that cold air went east. So now the long range with these atmospheric rivers coming in is still kind of mild, wet, but mild. So skiers, not a lot of good news, at least through the middle of December.
Well, here's a question that meteorologists always love to get. Are we going to have a white Christmas?
We're 3
I would
weeks
have to
out,
think
Scott.
it's three. Is it only 3 weeks now? Oh my goodness.
I know. Get your shopping done.
I mean, the odds are against us in any given year. It's statistically, it's every 13 years. It's a 7% chance, just any given year. Statistical odds, 7 out of 100. So that works out to about 13 years. I think the last one was 2007. I should have looked this up, but we're probably due. And I feel like La Nina's got to come to us at some point. At some point, you got to think that we'll take probably. I think at some point, the ridge that's been keeping us warm, if that moves over, then we get the cold air that's been going east. So that's what we kind of thought was going to be happening this first couple of weeks. It's not. But if it just needs to shift back a little bit, maybe mid to late December, we can start getting into the cold air fun, and maybe we can time something up for Christmas.
And so bigger picture, though, Scott, we join you every week and we talk about the weather. We might have a better picture, I'm imagining, by next week when we visit.
Yeah, we'll probably by then have Christmas will be right at the edge of the 2-week, 15-day forecast models, which is like very dangerous looking at those models out there, because you can find some spectacular forecasts that will never come close. I mean, I wrote a blog about, like, on November 14th, it showed 7.5 inches would have been on the ground here by last Sunday. Obviously that didn't pan out. It was one model and gone. But yeah, who knows? By then, next week we may see a model that says, hey, there's going to be 12 inches of snow on Christmas. And then everybody freaks out. And the next day it's like, nope, back to 52 and mostly cloudy.
Do you ever get frustrated as a meteorologist in the Northwest?
Oh, all the time. This is like one of the crazier places to forecast, where everybody thinks about. It's like, we don't really have severe weather here. We have our windstorms and our occasional snowstorms and the flooding. We don't really get like the big, tornadoes and severe weather outbreak. But it's still very difficult to forecast here with all the microclimates. Even just today and yesterday was supposed to be pretty dry, but it's been rain. I live in the North Sound. It's been raining here all day yesterday and into this morning because the convergence zone's been stuck around.
Well,
and it's like, yes, it's
frustrating. But you co-wrote with Steve Poole several years ago now. The book is called Somewhere I Was Right. I think you can still find it on Amazon, because the premise of the book was somewhere you were right with the forecast. It's just not everywhere.
Yep. So like here it was everywhere but my house. Because I told the kids, like, oh, it'll be dry. And then here's the convergence zone. It's raining out. And they're like, why is that sound out the window? You said it'd be dry. It's like, yep, convergence zone.
All right, Scott, you do your best, and we appreciate you very much.
We're looking forward to next week's forecast, where we might be able to talk about a cold snap. Maybe not. We don't know. It's a week away.
Well, maybe we'll at least show what the 15-day forecast goes, and we'll have to put caveats on it, but just for fun. We'll just grab your popcorn, join us next week, and we'll see what's in store at least 15 days out. And then we'll laugh and look back and say, look what it said, and here's what's really happening.
All right.
Or maybe it'll be right. Maybe the blind squirrel will find the nut.
Emerald City Weather blog, emeraldcityweather.com. Scott Sistek, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.